And it is my security detail who told me that, have you heard the announcement? I said no. And one of them told me cabinet has been dissolved. Ooh. So I told them, in that case, the only thing I seek from you is a lift back to my house. A lift, because you know now you cannot order anyone around. So apart from my ministerial duties, I have to be in Parliament to articulate issues for my people, and I have to lead transformation in the Ministry of Water. There is a new Water Act which we passed just before Parliament was dissolved in 2001, and I have to implement that Water Act, which I gazetted for implementation in beginning of March 2003. 2 months after being minister. Remember, we have a plane accident in January 2003. Yeah. So I've taken a month healing. I've come to the office.
Who is we?
We had a plane accident, several of us, several ministers in the plane. One minister dies, Ahmed Khalif, who was Minister for Labor.
Martha, you were in a plane
I survived. Tuju survives. Martha Karua Co, who was with us and then a practicing advocate, survives. Dr. Wanjiru Kihoro dies 3 years later. George Khanili, who was a senator last term, survives. He was then a member of parliament. We were 11 people, and 3 died, the 2 pilots and the minister, and a 4th one later, Dr. Wanjiru Kihoro.
Yes.
And the rest of us survived with injuries. Yeah.
Martha, you were in a plane
in Busia
that went down.
Yeah.
And you're here to tell that story.
And it didn't just go down, it went down on top of a house. I believe if it had gone down, maybe the casualties would have been more. We landed on top of a house next to the airfield, and that stopped the fall.
Yes.
You know, broke the fall. I believe we had taken off maybe just about half a kilometer upwards, like 500. Because I remember telling Martha Karua, who was seated somewhere opposite on a different row, Madam, take notice, we are airborne. That's the last I remember. I don't remember the clash. And I'm told by those who know about medicine that when you feel pain the body can't bear, the memory deletes. You not only go unconscious, but the memory is deleted.
What?
Because if you went to that threshold, you'd have to fall conscious. The memory deletes. So I don't remember the accident, although I was awake.
Wow.
Yeah. And I woke up now after consciousness in a hospital. So I don't even remember being removed from a plane that is on a rooftop. Yeah.
What does that do for you?
What just made me re-emphasize that life is short, that you live every day like it's the last. Everything you can accomplish in a day, accomplish it. Wacha kuweka mambo pending. Don't keep for the next day. Yeah, do what you can do that day, that moment, because the moment at hand is the moment you know. The rest belongs to God. And I say, He saved us for a purpose. Yeah. And therefore you serve like it's your last day. And I did serve like it was my last day in the Ministry of Water, in the Ministry of Justice. I'm serving as a leader without portfolio, like it's my last day.
The period of 2001 to 2004, I was not in the country, so yeah. I'm aware about some certain happenings.
We had that accident, and when we were in hospital, we learned that Kibaki had also been hospitalized at the same hospital, Nairobi Hospital, after a stroke. He left hospital before us.
Yeah.
The fact that we wondered why he didn't come to see us, but he had not recovered and he had lost his speech.
And of course, this information is not told to the public, of course.
No, so we realized later, because even cabinet, we couldn't sit. So he continued recovering. 6 months later, we could sit. But the country had taken off because he had made all the vital appointments. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Our president went into a stroke while in power, but the country didn't know.
The first month. No, they knew. People knew he was hospitalized.
Yes.
And people knew it was a stroke, but not the magnitude. Yeah, even as we didn't, because we were not allowed access to him.
Okay.
Yeah, he was kind of kept by a small circle consisting of his inner kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
We never saw him during that period.
But
Raila saw him in a hospital. He was able to see him once, but not thereafter. They blocked. Yeah.
This sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot. And so, but then also another thing that I'm hearing you, before the new constitution, it meant you could be
both a parliamentarian
exactly, and a cabinet secretary.
Actually, it required you to be parliamentarian
in order to be
appointed. Remember, appoint members of government
from parliament,
ministers from among members of
parliament.
So that was a necessary requirement. And if you want to know what happened in that government, after Kibaki recovered from the stroke, because June, we could see that he's back. His vice president, Wamalwa, died in August. He was also ailing. It's as though he waited for his friend to get better. And then he passed on in August.
Wow. Yeah. What is it about the Kibaki era that brought about such an explosion from a leadership perspective? I do understand Moi had stifled a lot, and there was a lot of actually, from your perspective, you just explain it.
Are you saying explosion in terms of development?
Yes,
or disagreement?
When we as Kenyans speak from a historical perspective, how we speak about that Kibaki era
is with nostalgia.
Yes.
It's because our economy was almost dead. And within that period, he revived it. The country became self-reliant. Our budgets were not funded from outside support. 93% of the budget was locally funded, only 7%. So applying money to priorities. And yet we were able to still build roads, to do development projects by prioritizing something that the Ruto regime doesn't appear to know or understand. You only spend, like a family does, when it is short of money, on priorities only. Yeah. Even as ministers, the travel outside was limited. Parliament, travel was limited. We were concentrating on building the nation. And there was this feel-good factor. At some stage, people were queuing in droves at KRA to pay taxes. They wanted their country changed. People were stopping policemen from taking bribes because they stood for change. But when towards the end of that term now, the Anglo-leasing things came in, people lost faith and we went back to factory setting.
Okay. Do you think it's possible for us with a given debt to go back to such a hopeful time?
Yes. The Gen Z are rekindling the hope. And we as Kenyans, each Kenyan, wherever you are, you and me have a responsibility not to lose this moment presented by our youth, presented by our beloved Gen Z and their supporters, the millennials, because the bulk of the supporters in that movement are the millennials. And we are the silent supporters on the third row, you know? We shouldn't lose this moment. This is a moment of transformation. This is a very significant time. We lose it, we may never capture it this century.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'll fast forward a lot, but and I'll come to a pivotal point, which was again, of course, the elections that came after that. But before that, talk about the Moi stand-up. We can't with the Moi walkout. We can't. Let's go back a bit.
In 2001,
yes,
I go for a function in Kerugoya. Moi was coming to do a harambe. You know Moi and harambes. Opposition used to boycott Moi functions. When he came to Kirinyaga, I didn't boycott. Earlier on the same year, I had gone to Kirinyaga Stadium to meet him when he had come to Kirinyaga. And he had denied me an opportunity to speak, yet he was allowing people who are just Kanu operatives. So I decided I'll walk out when he rises to speak. Because if he can't hear me speak, why should I listen to him? There's no law that tells me I must listen to a president. So I walked out on him. It wasn't as dramatic. Now, in Kirwea, I go to meet him. And he praises me when speaking to Kirwea girls, because he landed at Kirwea girls, because I was the only opposition MP present. He tells me he tells the girls I'm a good role model. We finish, and he goes to the DC's office for refreshments, house rather, and I go on to the stadium. I refuse to follow them because they're just a KANU group. I went to the function, and there I found his minders. I convinced them, being the only opposition MP present, I deserved a nice sitting position, and I was given 3 seats away from the president. So as he came in, he found me comfortable sitting. We were even exchanging. He was asking me why I shouldn't join KANU. And I told him, I'm like him. I would like to quote him in 1963, that without opposition, there is no life. So I'm in opposition to keep his government on its toes. And he laughed, because that's exactly what he had said in 1963 when he was in KADU, before he joined KANU. So he left me alone, and as we are going on, the local KANU chairman, ex-minister James Njiro, is then called to speak. And he starts to berate the opposition, of which I belong, and to berate my party and my party chairman, the late President Kibaki, saying that those who think Kenya can be ruled from Othaya have something wrong in their head, which includes me.
Yep.
I get so upset, and I'm drawing Moi's attention, and Kosgei and the late Kamodo, who are between me and Moi. I'm telling them, tell him I want to speak to him. And they're seeing I'm upset, so they are refusing to tell him. But Moi hears the commotion, so he looks my side. And I tell him, why are you allowing, and this time I'm telling him, not very nicely, why are you allowing your party chairman to insult the opposition and my leader? And I came here to meet you as the head of state. He says, he does not agree with what Njiro is doing, but he doesn't stop him. I tell him, if you can't stop him, then you have to give me 5 minutes to defend myself and my party leader. Then he asks me, what are you going to say if I give you 5 minutes? And I tell him I can't, I'm still annoyed. I'm telling him, I can't tell you what I'm going to say. I can only assure you that as head of state, I'll give you due respect. Yeah. So I think he weighed. I could see his body language. He told me, I'll see. But I could see he is telling me, this one is, no, I can't. So I understood he'll not give me. So I surveyed. I decided I can't walk out on a party chairman. I'll walk out on his boss. So I was surveying, and I saw where his podium was. If I followed him, it will be like I'm attacking him, and I'll be restrained before I can get out, because there was an entrance, a place to get out, an exit just next to his podium. Then I quickly noticed another exit that is like 2 meters away from his podium. And I immediately realized there it is. So I waited for Jiro to finish speaking, for Kosgei and Kamodo. Then he is called. It was an education function, so it's Kosgei, who was the education minister, who speaks and then calls him. He wakes up, and I let him reach the podium, and I immediately pick my handbag. So we are in the front row. I pick my handbag. I went to my whatever, went directly in front of him, gave him the DP salute, and swaggered out with my hand high in DP salute. He had begun to clear his throat, and he kept quiet. And when people realized I'm walking out, a few KANU members there in front begin like to boo. When they realized Moi is silent,
they kept quiet. The
police, everybody is paying attention, and nobody is talking, and the police commissioner they go silent. You could have had a pin drop. They waited. I walked out of the stadium in total silence. It's like 30 seconds or a minute. Yeah. And when I'm now out of sight, I hear Moi begin to speak. I was with my brother, who was a teacher in one of the secondary schools at that time. And I realized if he drives my car out, he'll be sacked. So I asked him for the key, and I drove. And as I'm getting out, I'm also telling the people, Umai, just to get out, my supporters. And a few people got out, like 200, and then they closed the gate. Immediately I was out. They closed the gate to stop the hemorrhage. So I'm driving to Kerugoya town slowly, and the people are following me. And people are increasing as we reach the town because they are seeing there is action. And then I go and stand on the stairs of the Kirinyaga Tea Growers Circle, which is like a raised dais. And the people surround there, and I start addressing them. As I'm addressing the people and telling them we must resist all forms of oppression, and opposition is here to stay because it is constitutional, the OCS of my constituency, Mr. Njage from Meru, is sent to me by the police commissioner. The police commissioner was Mr. Washira. And Mr. Washira and Kamodo, when they realized I was leaving, were both begging me in Kikuyu, and I didn't pay their attention to them. So he has sent Njage, meaning they have found out who is my OCS and whether we have good relations. And we had good relations with Mr. Njage. So they sent him to please request me to kindly leave Kerugoya town. And I told him I'm not going to leave, to go tell his boss that Moi is the foreigner in Kerugoya. He's the one who will leave. Me, I'm a daughter of the soil, and I'm going nowhere. God. So he has left me addressing the people. Within a short time, like 15 minutes, Moi has finished his Harambe, and they are hurriedly leaving the town. You see? I realized even a president can be unsettled because they didn't know what I was plotting. That Harambe was conducted in less than 15 minutes. Remember, some time I've taken walking to the Nini, and they have taken time sending somebody. And within a very short time, they have left. And we celebrated, and I
were
left.
there repercussions for that action?
What had I done? There is no law that tells you to listen to a president. Yes. People actually were writing. Someone from Gichugu wrote, who was a competitor, wrote that it was very foolish. I could have been shot. If I'm shot, you die once. You not die twice. And it is better to die doing the Lord's work. That's what I was saying even when we were demonstrating for as Azimio. Let us not fear too much. You see, death will still come. We should not be careless with our lives. And we must insist that those in positions of authority must follow the rule of law. But if we are ruled by the fear, by only fear, then we would still be under colonial rule. Yeah. If we are ruled by fear, we would still be under the one party. It is always necessary to have champions who will champion change. And the youth in every generation have their work cut out. We did ours then, and I'm so happy. As I grow old and ready to exit the stage, I'm seeing my children and grandchildren rise up to defend their country. Yeah.
Again, there's so many parallels I can see between this time and some of your history. So, for example, were you in the dissolvement of Kibaki's government?
That morning, I remember the late John Michuki asking me to go and visit the president at State House, talk to him. The morning after the referendum where the government was, where we were defeated. Yeah. And I told him, no, I'm going for a game of golf, and I went. Michuki and a few others went to see Kibaki. That's when it was discussed and agreed cabinet will be dissolved. So for me, it came as a surprise. Yeah. Not as a shock because something had to be done, but as a surprise that I went to golf a minister, I left a member of parliament only. And it is my security detail who told me that, have you heard the announcement? I said no. And one of them told me cabinet has been dissolved. So I told them, in that case, the only thing I seek from you is a lift back to my house. A lift, because you know now you cannot order anyone around. Because the car they are driving is not my car, it's a government car. If it's my car, I can say, bring my keys.
You know, it an instant shift of everything? So like, for example, the dissolving that has happened today. Yeah. Cars go, security go.
I don't know whether the Ruto regime will obey the rule of law, but you must return everything. But remember, by then, members of parliament were entitled to each one security. Okay. So I will not lose security. Yeah. even at my gate, they did not recall security.
Okay.
Because once you have been a minister, even when you, especially in sensitive ministries like justice, they should have left security at my gate. Uhuru's regime illegally took away my security, and the Ruto regime has done the same. I don't complain. I share the same security as Kenyans do. Yeah.
I'm actually, by the way, to be honest, I'm actually impressed by your entourage.
My entourage is rather large. So to speak, and rather adequate. Why would you fear the people? No, the same people you beg for votes. Yeah. I don't fear the people.
And I say that in case people get it misconstrued. You actually don't. Even how you've come
it's
here
adequate.
Today.
It's quite adequate.
Yes.
I'm adequately covered by the people of Kenya and by my own devices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we go into 2007.
And we finish.
Yeah, and then we finish. Again, I'll say, too much to compress in the time that we have here, but we're grateful for everything that will be shared. See you guys in a bit.
What is the time? Because we have